Testing. Okay, I think it's picking up. There. Ooh-wee. Okay. Just after all this hemming and hawing, not following through, and being afraid, and not, I don't know, being recorded is very scary for me. But I also really like this concept. I like the idea of being able to do art with friends, and you know, it's always so hard to align with schedules. So welcome to art night that always works for your schedule. And yeah, every time I do have art time with friends, I just feel like we always have such amazing conversations and, you know, kind of dive deep into what we really think, what our values are, that sort of thing. So I don't know, and I just ordered some new glasses yesterday, so I figure if any time to do my first self-portrait, this would be now, because then I can kind of see, you know, I'm really proud of myself. I ordered a pair that I really love. They're like big and ridiculous and masculine and sturdy, and just, I don't know, I'm very excited for it, and I didn't ask anybody their opinion. I just kind of went for it. I don't know if anybody else has ever had to try to browse for glasses, but those websites are not very easy to navigate, in my opinion. Oh shit, I should put that over here. So bear with me, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. I am just starting. It is something that I've been wanting to do for years, and I'm not even sure the order of when things are going to be posted. But it depends on like how long certain projects take, right? But today I wanted to paint a self-portrait with acrylic gouache. So my goal is to make it more illustrative, because that's kind of how I like to paint with acrylic gouache. I did a project not too long ago on a skateboard that I loved, and I was really looking for some sort of, I don't know, I guess I just assumed that paintings, their backings would be wood, which was why I really enjoyed painting on the skateboard. And I went to the thrift store and I found that this frame was cute. This mirror, and maybe that makes it easier to try to do a self-portrait. I'm just staring at myself in the mirror for forever. But I also am pretty sure that acrylic gouache will not adhere to it unless I prepped it, which I'm not going to prep it. And I thought that I could like scrape it off and do it again, like just as a good practice. I have nothing else to do, just kind of keep painting myself, keep making myself feel very vulnerable. And I also chose to start with this project because it is so scary. It's the scariest thing ever. And I think that if I just start and I just talk and my goal with art night is to make it feel like you're painting alongside a friend, having a conversation, and maybe one day it would be really dope to have some of my friends come and be part of the conversation. Or so, gosh, deep breath. I think that it makes sense to do my outline in like kind of like a bright poppy color because I'm gonna paint over it. I'm pretty new with acrylic gouache. I've only taken the only art class I've ever taken is a watercolor class, and gosh, none of this. I'm like, this is not meant to be an art podcast per se. Like, yes, I'm doing art, but I just really imagine like people setting this video up on the background while they're also doing art. I call it art night, even though here it is 6:30 in the morning. I have a 2.5-year-old son sleeping still, so we'll see how long I get to paint for. But I am hopeful to get like at least like a half hour, get the outline done. So I'm not gonna be doing the thing like, oh, this is what I'm using. I guess if you're curious, I can tell you that there's so much more that I'm going to be doing. Like, I just love crafting of all sorts. It's just always been a dabbler. I'm always wanting to try new crafts, new types of paints, new types of art, just everything and anything. And I've come to really enjoy that part of myself because I feel like becoming really good at problem solving. What brush would I use? I have no idea. I don't know if I want to go like pretty small or big, and I don't know how this recording method's gonna work either, so I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna talk, and I'll keep pulling back so progress can be seen. But I am really trying not to overthink this and just start. That's the biggest advice I've gotten from friends who do YouTube or do any progress in their life. It's like, the biggest thing is you just start. And I have wanted to do this for years, literally years, and then I had the direct concept, 2 years ago after Mars was born, and mix that with after Mars was born, and so I talked to some friends about it, and like were really energized about it and said I should do it. And I'm sure no one really fully got the concept that was in my brain, and that's like another reason why it doesn't make sense to flesh out your ideas with other people necessarily. Like, it's good to kind of talk it out loud. For me, I really like talking it out loud so I can kind of get my bearings around the idea. But the problem with that is how influenced I am with people's reactions or their ideas. And oftentimes, well-meaning people are like, oh, well, you should do this, you should try this, you should. And so I've decided I don't even know if I'm gonna share with anybody I know in person that I'm doing YouTube or that I'm trying it. Not really, for the main goal with that is to not allow people's perceptions of me or expectations of me guide or change how I show up in this space. I feel like I am one of many in our generation who just doesn't know who they are. I know that that's really common. That happens whenever you have a baby, right? And everything changes. Oh my gosh, I don't know how to poop. Okay, let's just get the rough out go way bigger than this, but I already started. Okay. I should have used a finer brush. Yeah, I regret immediately doing the blue. Oh yeah, so anyway, yeah, I don't want other people's perceived impressions of me to guide how I act, and it's something, you know, the whole like people-pleasing attitude and that sort of thing. But then I also, every time I do feel like I'm leaning more towards my authentic self, then you start to feel that you start to feel the imposter syndrome, and I think it's really hard to come out of that without some really deep self-work. I don't like how this is working out. Okay, well, let's just freehand it then, I guess. I'll sit next to it like that. Does that make sense? So that my face is a little bit wider than that. But yeah, I am really interested in discovering what my actual true values are, and not like values that have been instilled on me by my family or by my society. And obviously, like, your family is going to play a huge role in like how you think and how you show up for the world. And I have had like a really interesting awakening since having Mars, and really not right after I had him, right? It was more like I don't know, what was it like? Those are supposed to be my glasses. Trust the process, trust the process. I also, like, I really liked these glasses at first, but definitely not great for having a crazy 2-year-old. He's 2.5 now, technically, but okay, I'm just gonna place where my mouth goes. Glasses. My eyebrows gonna go up like that, and then my hair. Whoa! Again, this is just a sketch. But yeah, I know it's super common for people after they have their first child to start questioning everything, and I'm definitely doing that. Like, I'm going through a million phases and trying to decide what's important to me, trying all these new hobbies, I was always a hobbyer, right? I was always trying hobbies and never finishing things. Not never, that's not nice. I'm trying to adjust also how I speak to myself, because I don't know why I made that much paint. But yeah, I am very much trying to give myself grace that I do finish a lot of things. I just want to go with my inspiration, and that's another thing with this video is I have a bunch of projects lined up that I also want to talk about certain topics alongside of them. And so my self-portrait is really just kind of like be a introduction of who I am, who I used to be. So I used to compete in snowboarding. I was doing like freestyle, like park and pipe, and lots of rail jams. That was what I mostly did because the barrier to entry was really low, and that was kind of like how you got first recognized by potential sponsors and stuff. And then as I was like a little bit further in my career, there started being like more creative contests and a lot more fusion of like border cross with freestyle, which is really cool, but also part where I got annihilated, which maybe we'll talk about in the future. Lots and lots and lots of injuries. Been really unfortunate, but fortunate. You know, I've had some really life-threatening injuries as well, so I'm fortunate that I came out of that alive. But then so I went from freestyle to doing free ride, which is more like big mountain, hiking up to the top of a mountain and going down and being judged on how fluid you come down the mountain, being judged on if you hit any cliffs or features along the way. That is way too much red. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm telling myself with practice it'll be easier to paint and talk, but it's definitely going to be a learning curve. But that's my goal, is really to like marry the time between like painting or whatever art craft I'm doing and talking, versus doing a voiceover. I really just don't have the time for something like that. I am full-time stay-at-home mom now, so you can imagine going from traveling the world snowboarding. Snowboarding is not like you live in one state and you compete until you do well enough, then you get to go out and compete in other areas, right? Like snowboarding is mostly travel, right? Mostly so much money into the pot to have a chance. And I really thought that I had a chance, and I don't think that I really had the mental strength to be successful with it. It was a really hard lifestyle. It was really fast. It was really full of transient people too, so you would get attached to someone or become really close with someone, and then you never see them again. And thank goodness for social media. There's so many people that I have been able to stay in touch with. But yeah, so we'll get more into that, I'm sure. But fast forward to now, I'm stay-at-home full-time mom, and I had all these notions of how it was gonna work, how I was going to show up as a mom, and I'm really grateful I have kind of broken free from those expectations of myself. I'm still obviously working on it, but I started off like, the whole trying to be the perfect mom, and there's so much information out there as to like what you should and shouldn't do, and how you're going to damage your child forever if you do X, Y, or Z. One of the most liberating things that my therapist said was that like I'm gonna traumatize my child no matter what. Like it's gonna happen. There's gonna be something along the way. Like it's just part of growing up, and your child's understanding of the world is not the same as your own, right? So try as you may, they might perceive it differently, or the whole idea of different truths comes into play pretty heavy when it comes to like my family too, and how I saw my childhood and they saw it. And the more I talk about it, the more I realize that's across the board with everybody, right? So I think that was like really freeing to be able to realize that he's not gonna come out of childhood unscathed no matter how hard I try, right? And I also have been struggling with the over information, or like so much information out there and people shoving it down your throats, especially on social media, like this is what you need to do with your kid and this is the only way, and if you do this then they'll end up the way you want them to, whatever the heck. And then the way I see it is that your kid should never end up the way you want them to. Let me see how I can say that. Like they're their own person. Like I'm not like living through him, right? Like I'm living my own life, and I want to show him what I do to live my best life, and I want him to see from that example and him try new things because I'm trying new things, that sort of thing. So I do feel like he definitely learns mostly by watching what we do, by example, by modeling, as they say. But I don't know, I'm really trying to let go of social media too, so that's why it's kind of really funny that I'm starting this now. And again, I said I don't think I'm gonna tell anybody I'm doing this. I think that my nose is more like a triangle there. What a funny thing to paint your own self. I know this is not drying it's drying too quickly, so I'm struggling a little on this material. The nice part with painting it on the wood board was that it dried almost immediately, so I could lay down like a layer like this, and then by the time I dipped my brush and came back, like it was already dry, and so I could go right on top of it and not even smudge anything. So I'm gonna have to remember that in painting this, but since I'm just trying to put the outline down where my eyes are, like right here. But yeah, so coming from snowboarding, my point of all of that is coming from snowboarding, fast lifestyle, like not responsible for anybody, not permanence, like I haven't had the longest relationship I had before my partner Alex was like a year and a half, and that was probably about 6 months overdue from leaving that relationship as well. Shit. This is why I shouldn't be painting on my bed, like my son's bed, but this is a very old blanket, so at least there's that. But yeah, so there was always the joke that I had commitment issues, and that was not just in relationships, but also in snowboarding and all of that. You know, like I said, I don't know if I ever had what it takes because I was so, ooh, that's weird how that came off like that. I wonder if I just go like that so I can like reshape the face. Ooh, it kind of worked. Okay. The whole trust the process thing is something I really struggle with, is like over analyzing how it looks now versus what the plan was. I'm working on that. I'm like full blown in such a transition in my life. I realized about a year ago, a year and a half ago, wow, has it really been that long? I guess in July it will be 2 years. So right now it's March 1st. So I have been realized, you know, a year and a half ago that I like had no idea who I was. My whole like reality had turned upside down, and I was really struggling with other people's influences over I lost my train of thought. This is not the easiest thing. I was thinking about how I wanted a spray bottle to keep this wet, which I didn't grab, so I'll have to grab that next time. Okay, so I'm gonna mix some brown. And I'm gonna go the lazy way and use it with black. Sometimes I try to mix colors the appropriate way, and you know, Alex, he did have classical. My partner Alex had a actual art school, so I feel like that's like another thing that I've really struggled with, is like finding my own path or way to do things, because you know, he is very talented, right? And I feel judged every time he approaches, and give suggestions, even though that may not completely be the case at all. And so I am working on that. I'm working on so much right now. I have a lot of physical health problems that started about a year after COVID. I was really struggling with, I was getting daily migraines. I was throwing up all the time. I couldn't keep meals down often. And I had no idea what was going on. We went to go see a bunch of different doctors. Nobody could figure it out. And everyone's like, oh, it's just stress. Which, yes, stress plays like a huge role in health. I know that, right? But it didn't feel like it was just stress, and I felt so minimized by the healthcare industry and like by even like people around me. I just felt like I people thought like I was a hypochondriac and like there was always something wrong with me. And I flash back to even my snowboard career, right? I feel like a lot of people had that opinion as me as well. And now as more of my medical information is coming to light, it's like starting to make a whole lot of sense as to why my injuries took so long to heal and why I got injured so frequently and like the kinds of injuries I have, right? So it's just been an interesting journey the last, and this was something that has just come to light in the last 2 months as to my health. So I'm definitely hypermobile. That is fact, right? But it would require some genetic testing to see like what kind of hypermobility, I guess. And it is not cheap to do genetic testing, but I do think eventually I'd like to do it because of Mars. Like, I'd like him to be able to know what's coming, and if he ever decides to have kids too, like that he has the potential to pass this on, if it is, I guess, genetic. So then I don't know a whole lot about all of this. Like I said, it's brand new, and I've been really trying to my best to compartmentalize and not over research, over analyze, over talk about, over anything. That's a big piece of something I'd like to shift about me, is like, I like being prepared, I like knowing what's next, but I really want to learn how to like trust my own instinct and decision making, intuition, all of that, instead of over planning for everything, because at the end of the day I'm never going to be prepared no matter what. Like, you can prepare all day and all night and you'll still never be ready for what actually happens. And I don't know why it just sounds so freaking obvious, right, when you say it out loud, but I find myself staying up at night every night being like, oh, but what if this happens? So that have to happen. So same thing with this video or this YouTube channel, is I've been so insecure to start it and trying to overplan it, and oh my gosh, I should show you. So I'm thinking, like, I have like this for the first episode, I have this like entire page of notes that I wanted to talk about, and I think it's still nice to have it in case I can't think of what to talk about, but clearly I am doing a lot better. I actually did a practice video 2 weeks ago, which is going straight in the garbage, not in a bad way. Like, I still like it's a great lesson, and there's actually some footage from it that maybe I can use in future, but my voice was shaking, I couldn't like keep a linear thought, and I was just it didn't feel real, like it didn't feel like the real me, which this feels a lot, maybe because I did the practice one, like this feels a lot more calm and less scary, I guess. My hair is pretty dark, right? So let's make this whole thing dark. depends on the light. I should have changed my lighting in here, but it's too late now, and lessons learned for next time. But yeah, so being thrown in this health journey, and then so I ended up leaving my job and focusing on health, because it was like everyone's like, oh, it's just stress, right? I did feel significantly better after I did leave my job, right? Like I felt like a whole new person, and that was when we started talking about having a kid, and it was definitely influenced by one of the doctors we had seen during trying to figure out what was wrong with me. He had told us that it was going to be really hard for us to get pregnant because they had found something that indicated that, which now I'm like, I don't even think that was true at all, because we actually went to a trip to Barcelona, kind of like towards the end of full-blown lockdown. Is like when they stopped lockdown and then it started up again at a certain point. It was like around that time, and we had already had all the flights booked, so we decided to go. And while we were out there, we were like, well, if it's gonna take us forever to get pregnant, like maybe we should just start trying, kind of go from there. And then we came home pregnant. So it was we were ready, but we weren't expecting it to happen right away. So it was a little bit of a whiplash, and I'm sure like us being told that influenced how quickly we jumped into wanting to have a baby. I don't regret the timing. Like, it really was. Like, I mean, Mars is so freaking awesome. Like, he is so cool. And we had a lot of fun, and I'm actually really grateful how much work I've put into being able to enjoy my time with him, because I really struggled. I think a lot of women go through this, and so check on your people, check on your new mamas. And I like how someone had said to me, like, once you're a new mom, you're always a new mom. Every single stage is new. You've never, like, even when they go to high school, right? The first time they go to high school, it's like you've never sent a kid to high school, so it's your first time doing it. And I just really liked that description. I think that was really helpful for me, because it helped me give myself a lot more grace making mistakes, because yeah, it's my first time. And I think also working on giving, the people around me more grace around it too, because it's also their first time. It's my partner's first time too, so when I get frustrated that he's not quite parenting the way I think that he should be, right? It's like, well, he'll get there eventually, like, or he'll get to his flow of what makes most sense for him, when he does. Like, it's just, and also there's just not one way to parent, right? There's always, everybody has different ways, and I think that my child will benefit from multiple methods. As long as no one's being abusive towards him, then it's like, why not let him learn? This looks nothing like me, but again, just gonna trust the process, and I'm trying to do it quickly because I'm seeing that we're already like 30, it's already 7 o'clock, and the clock is ticking on when little dude likes to wake up. Okay, this is the most rambly episode you will hopefully get, because I'm practicing. But I'd like to give more space for people to have their own thoughts during art night too, and I'm definitely not doing that right now, because I'm like, everybody listen to what I do. But again, I'm not even sure how public I want to make this. Like, a big part of it, as I told myself, I was going to use this as like basically a digital diary, my thoughts. I've I got to the point with my health that I was really struggling even holding a pen. And so when I was relying so much on journaling, and then I like suddenly couldn't journal anymore, and it's just been a really hard 6 months specifically. I mean, I've never been through so much extreme stress in my life, and to the point that I couldn't even figure out what was my own voice or who the voice was coming from on decisions that I needed to make. And I had a lot of people who, you know, really care about me, who really didn't want to see things that had happened to them happen to me, right? So lots of really, I want to use the word pushy advice, because it doesn't feel as kind as I want it to be, because again, I know these was from a place of caring that these people were trying to help. But it caused a lot more chaos in my life, especially when I realized that, you know, everyone's really busy, right? So when I realized that these people weren't readily available for me, even though they were pushing such extreme change in my life, that I realized I really needed to stop. Wow, I really fucked that one up. I really needed to stop and find out which voice was mine. And I started meditating and taking a meditation class, and I started learning different exercises. I learned TRE, trauma release exercises. I learned just kind of like tapping and what's that called? Cross body, like trying to connect your left brain, right brain stuff. Frontal lobe, trying to get your decision making coming from the correct, you know, like your higher brain, your more thought through brain, your non-emotional brain. My goodness, this is really not looking like me. It's hard to color match right now too in this lighting, because like when I sit back, I think I see a different light than when I get closer. Yeah, just the process, just keep going. And then yeah, I think a spray bottle next time I do this would be crucial, because this paint is drying out so fast. I live in Colorado, so it's like super dry here. And I think that makes it a little harder to play with gouache, because so that's fun. Here's a thing I'm learning about if I didn't prep this. It is kind of reactivating this acrylic gouache, which is funny because it's acrylic gouache, right? So it's like once it's down and dry, it shouldn't be able to be lifted. And so like this part right here is dry, right? And then when I put, it starts to lift, which means it's not going to stick on there, right? But it might be really not work the way I think it will on this. This might be a wash, or I need to be more gentle, right? Maybe that's it, is that it's still possible if I'm more gentle. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's really hard to give like a snapshot of who I am, right? I think that I'm a really great mom. I really am enjoying it now. I'm really grateful for taking these meditation classes and trauma release exercise classes and meditation. Did I already say that? I wish that I had done it sooner. I know, I feel like everybody says that. I wish that I had been more present for Mars when he was younger. I'm really grateful that I am now. I just wish that it didn't take, maybe I like had to go through it, right? But I also wish that I had done this work prior to even having a baby or even thinking about having a baby. But I also think that having him was what made me realize I had so much work to be done, right? Had I not had him, I don't think I would have ever realized that I needed work. You know, I was living such a, I don't know what to call this lifestyle. Like, I was snowboarding and traveling all over the place, but like transient lifestyle, or like no real responsibilities or anything like that, and no real support system. Again, not upset by it, right? Like not upset towards anybody for it, but I didn't have the support system that I needed in that situation, and yeah, it was really, really rough for a while there, and I didn't know it, and I just thought that I was good, right, until I wasn't, and then I didn't know what to do about it. So that's kind of where I was 2 years ago, and then I started doing something about it. You know, I started looking for some counseling, and I didn't start with this current counselor until July of this, so like a year later. And they're great. Like, I really, really enjoy them. They're still technically in school, because it's like a program here, and since I don't have an income right now, it was really challenging to figure out help, and it was like a burden, I think is a good way to call it, even though he might disagree. I think that it felt like a really heavy financial burden for my partner to support my mental health journey. And I think, you know, he's expressed how blindsided he felt in my health, how like when he met me, he thought that I was like the most confident, go-getter, like could do anything on my own, very independent, that sort of thing, and I almost like full 180 the other way since having Mars, right? Which I'm not sure he knows how common that is for first-time moms. But anyway, it was really hard to have that conversation around mental health, right? Especially like, you know, in his mind, he's like, well, I can help you, like we can talk it out, right? You know, and that turned into like a very intense pressure point for all of us. This is not brown. I don't know. It's because I put the white in there. Let's try again. I wanted to do my hair before the baby wakes up. Let's do black, yellow. I'm a pretty chaotic painter. But yeah, so I don't know, I really don't know who I am. Like I don't know how common it is to experience that. Like waking up one day and be like, who the fuck am I? But that happened to me, and I'm still don't really know who I am, but I've been doing a much better job the last couple months, taking a deep breath and many deep breaths and trying to even decipher where these voices are coming from. Not literal voices, but like when I'm like, oh, they're gonna judge me because blank, or I can't do this because blank. Like all those kind of voices, I for the longest time didn't know where they were coming from or like who they were coming from, and I just assumed that it was me and my true thoughts of myself kind of thing. So when my therapist posed that question, every time, you know, certain negative thoughts were coming out, they were like, well, where's that, who's saying that, like where's that coming from? And I was just like, I don't know. I have no idea, right? Now I feel like I'm starting to get a better handle as to like what's actually coming from me and what's coming from somewhere else, and not necessarily somewhere else that's helpful, right? Oh, okay, that's much better. Brown. Here's some brown. My hair. So here's the question: do you like paint how you want to be seen, or what do you see, or how crazy my hair is? Do I fix my hair before I paint? What the heck do I do? I do think I need a different brush though for the hair. But yeah, so it's been a really crazy, volatile 6 months. Very high intensity stuff, and very lonely and scary and not knowing who to trust. And I am learning to trust myself, which is really, really exciting and powerful, and something I don't know where along the way I stopped doing that, you know what I mean? I'm not sure when it happened or what happened, but I stopped trusting my own intuition, and I stopped trusting my own voice, and I was asking externally for help, and unfortunately from some people who were not the best resources for that, right? Not the most understanding of like the nuances in my situation, and the realization that it would really, like, I'm literally the only one who would actually know my situation, and trying to lean into that. And fuck, I knew that was gonna happen. I leaned in too far and I spilled all that paint water all over myself. Bruh. It's mostly my legs, but a little bit on the bed. No, my pants are wet on my ankles. That's okay. I was getting all excited because I was like, okay, I'm gonna start rendering in the eyebrows more correctly because they're not the right shape. And then I leaned forward and I knocked everything over. So that was cool. This is a really funny practice of like race against time with painting, because I'm well aware that it is 7:15 right now and he's gonna wake up any fucking moment. I'm very explicit, and it's funny whenever I'm not, because it doesn't feel like me. But then I'm trying not to be so explicit with him. I'm a skateboarder also, or I was skateboarding quite a bit before my physical health is kind of, it's so weird because I feel so like able, and I hate saying that about myself, that I'm like, oh, I'm unable to do things, but it does really feel like a significant difference in my abilities right now. So I'm trying to figure that out in it all, but that's how Alex and I met. We met skateboarding, which is why we went out to Barcelona, right? Because that's the mecca of skateboarding, or so they say. It was really awesome out there. What the hell? I mean, like this problem I have of being like, just use one tool, right? And then whenever I use the wrong brush in certain situations, then it gets me into a bind, right? And I can't fix it because that's okay. It's fine. I am just practicing. Okay, so how do I... This is the most rambly video, I'm sure. But I don't know, I feel like I can trying to emulate the whole art night vibe and to feel like you're in the room with me and how rambly I am in general. I might have to call it here and do it again a different day. We'll start over and we'll talk more about me another day. But that maybe I'll give you a little snapshot of who I am going into all my other art. Because at the end of the day, my goal is really to just create things to optimize my life. I have a lot of specific clothing I want to make. I have a lot of projects to the house we're building. We bought a house over almost a year ago. It was Mother's Day last year, and it is complete fixer-upper, but Alex has been doing the remodel, which has definitely been contributing to how difficult things have been in the last year. So I've basically been full-time with Martin, he's full-time work, and then go to work on the house. So it's been chaotic, but we're getting so close, and so that's like another thing is I hope this channel will see like a lot of DIY in the house build and just trying to make the space make the most sense for how I want to live my life, and that comes down to deciding what I want from life, right? Figuring out who I am, figuring out what my values are, and since it's all significantly changed, you know, when I first had Mars, I was like, I'm not going to be one of those moms whose whole identity is being a mom, right? And then I'm a mom, and like I realized like how important this job feels, how much I want him to experience and learn and be and do, and there's still a lot of life and things that I want for my own life, but I also know that like this is a stage, you know, he's has another year and a half before he goes to school. So I'm just trying to own this time. I know it's gonna go so fast, and be as present with him as possible. So you're probably gonna see me doing some projects that I can do with him, or like play with him, or like maybe some educational stuff for him. I'm not really sure, but this is kind of my space to do art while optimizing my life. Yeah, I also am interested in a lot of herbal healing, foods, cooking, so I've been baking so much bread. So I don't know what this is just going to be like my digital mind dump space while I'm painting, and I hope that I also can touch on some topics other people are interested in and find community. I feel like I have so many friends, great, but I don't know how many friends see all of me, and so it would be really, I don't know, really cool to find my people beyond that, and people who align more with what I'm doing. It's a weird sign off, but I'm just gonna go now, and maybe I'll post this now, maybe I'll post this after another few, I don't really know, but I do know that this is probably not even going to be edited, so that's another barrier I find from just starting, is I've over analyzing how it needs to look and whatever, and at the end of the day, like, I just want to be able to look back at this and like see how much progress I've made with my health, with my painting, with my other arts, with my aligning my life and my goals and my values and my optimization of making my life flow more easily. And needing to be more conscious of Taoism and just letting things be. So it's a balance. But yeah, I'm gonna go make some breakfast so I'm ready for the day, for the weekend with my little dude. So, see you later.